the middle of the night. Let's talk now about the political consequences, and there are plenty of them for this state and beyond.
Political analyst Chip Felkel is here with us now. A very historic day. Thanks for coming in. I know you were with us this morning also. What have been your thoughts watching all of this in Columbia?
Well, it's an incredible historic day in the life of this state, and it's come full circle. And I think the governor's right. Had it not been for the tragedy that occurred, the lives that were lost, the fact that I think that it took place in a church, the fact that it was a member of the Senate that was involved, but more importantly, how those individual families responded was what set this in motion.
The forgiveness.
And if it's a long time coming. Now, it's terrible that we had a tragedy like that. Something good came out of that tragedy.
Chip, I mentioned it was 03, but it was actually 2000 when the flag came off the dome. What was the impact of that on David Beasley's political career? How much did that flag torpedo his political career?
I heard your comments earlier. Absolutely, I think it affected his. You had the Sons of Confederate Veterans actively working against him. There was some other things at play in that race, but it certainly undercut support for him within the GOP base at that time.
But what's changed? What's changed between now and then? Is it just the massacre in Charleston, or is there something seismic underneath all this that we have yet really to see and may never see?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're 15 years later. We have social media, frankly, that affects how people gather their news. We have a lot of the emphasis on how the state was viewed. Some of that takes place as well. I think it was a confluence of things that changed that led to the possibility for this.
You've said that watching all of the voting in Columbia, it wasn't the no votes that surprised you, but it was the people who didn't vote at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, Mr. Pitts' comments about he was just tired and exhausted. There were several other members who, there were a couple members who were actually out of town, one on a church mission, I think, and some other things. But I was surprised at a couple of folks who didn't vote, Sandifer being one from the upstate as well. I don't know, Representative Pitts is a fine man. I think he put up a valiant fight for his beliefs on this thing. I think it was just surprising that he didn't take the vote.
Change of heart. We saw a lot of theater last night into the wee hours. A lot of people having their say. We're going to hear from Lee Bright, who represents the upstate, a little bit later on. How big a defeat is this politically for him, Chip?
Big, huge. He set himself up for a challenge, a heavily funded challenge from somewhere because of what I think many people feel was over-the-top commentary that he made. So I think he'll find this will be very difficult going forward.
Do you expect any political repercussions here?
In some cases, some of those votes that were taken were probably safe seats. Some of the folks that voted no were in safe seats where it didn't matter. Maybe a couple of people who didn't vote at all were in seats that if they had voted one way or the other, it was questionable. But yeah, there'll be political repercussions. There always are.
We heard David Wilkins say back in 2000, everything calmed down very, very quickly once it became codified, once it became law that the flag comes off the dome. Do you expect a similar calming this time, Chip, or are we going to hear the debate catch an inertia and keep on going?
I think you will. I think that because of the events that set this in motion, I think that will help with that. I hope so. Tensions are high, emotions are high. Emotions were raw in that chamber last night.
Yeah, they were.
And I think by the end of it, exhaustion, mental fatigue, frustration, but also I think now a sense of relief for a lot of people that we can turn. I've said today, let's not just turn the page, but let's go ahead and start in the next chapter.
Politics have bowed here, haven't they?
They have, but it took the human aspect of it, the personal aspect of it, to get folks to take a step back and say, what are we really saying when we have this banner flying? And how do people, like it or not, how are we perceived outside the state of South Carolina?
We're showing you live pictures here outside of the State House in Columbia. Chip, when that flag comes down at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, what message does that send to the rest of the country about South Carolina?
It's a new day. The old South Carolina that you like to stereotype, some of you around, and criticized us for being this and that and the other, we've taken a step forward. You can't hold that over our heads any longer. And on a lot of things, and one thing I think is very important, there are a lot of issues we need to address in this state. And there's some issues that we could never get to because that flag was flying. Now we can.
It was interesting. We heard Mike Huckabee ask the question. He was asked the question about the flag a few days ago as he was campaigning for president in South Carolina, and he skirted the question and said it's a states' rights issue. Is that Is that dog going to hunt, so to speak, politically, or are these candidates going to have to come into South Carolina and state their position on this Confederate flag as it goes?
Actually not, because it's been handled.
Right. It's
And
done.
they're all, I think every one of them is thankful that they will have to say that's already been handled. I don't have to address that, which is also what I think the Republican National Committee was very interested in, not having first in the South primary and having those candidates have to defend something or support or whatever. It's been handled.
And Governor Haley was very, very quick in her call for the flag to come off the grounds. What does this do for her politically, Chip?
It's the best day in her tenure in office, clearly. Leadership. She was aggressive about it. She was sincere in her efforts. I think it does a tremendous amount for her legacy as governor of the state.
Will this be her legacy?
It'll be right up there. I mean, she certainly can claim bringing in jobs, but this helps her bring in more jobs.
And of course, name recognition, attention, national attention, national fervor.
But if you think about it, you have an Indian American governor.
Right.
An Indian American female governor, and an African American U.S. senator. That too has changed since 2000, when we had the first, when we had the repositioning of the flag, if you will.
Right.
And when you brought it down that dome, we all knew that wasn't the ultimate solution.
This wasn't over.
I mean, you know, it was off the dome and in your face, unfortunately. More people saw it. Paid attention to it, who was walking around the grounds, they were probably more cognizant of it. So it is a great day. It's a historic day for a coming together. Not everybody's happy, but that's politics. Not everybody in this state's happy about that. But I think the majority of people would like to see this take the next step forward.
And you are our analyst here, Chip, and I want this to come out of your mouth. Give us the reason that flag went on the dome 54 years ago.
It was a direct, no matter how you couch it, it was a direct response to civil rights. It was an in-your-face to the federal government, states' rights don't tell us what we can do. It wasn't about 1862, as Larry Martin said the other day. It was about 1962. And to say that it was just heritage was naive. It was just naive, and it was a lot of people, white South Carolinians, choosing to just kind of wince a little. It's not great. You know, sure, yeah, well, that flag, you can't get away with that. Can't do that anymore. It's 2015, and we have to meet with that head on. And this is a fantastic day for the future of this state.
What a difference 54 years can make.
Absolutely.
Chip Felkel, we'll be hearing from you later on in this special coverage. Thank you.
Chip. We'll be right back.